Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday Morning in the Old Cookbook Show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this cookbook called The Art of Cookery. My edition was published in 1748. This is most commonly known as the Hannah Glasse cookbook. Although her name does not appear in here anywhere, it is attributed to a lady, which was Hannah Glasse. And someone in the time period between 1748 and when I got this book very helpfully has put that in pencil on the front page, as well as the date, because the date is written in Roman numerals, and most of us have trouble with Roman numerals. I know I do. This is a great snapshot of English cookery in 1748, and it reflects the time. It reflects the time of ingredients, what was available. Most of the cooking in this book doesn't really work out in 2026 for a bunch of reasons. Tastes have changed. Ingredients have changed. New ingredients have either been discovered or, as in the case of vanilla, there is no recipe in here that uses vanilla because in 1748, vanilla was not commonly available. Humans hadn't figured out how to pollinate the flower that produces the vanilla pod. That wouldn't happen for almost another century after this book was published. So if you had vanilla at this time, it was super expensive and you were super elite because there wasn't much of it. Quite an interesting cookbook, but we're going to make something today that I think translates. We're going to make something called an orange fool. And the recipe is called To Make an Orange Fool. Fool, okay, it's an orange flavored custard. Is what it is. So that's what a fool is a custard. In this case, it's going to be oranges. And it's believed that the name fool is an English misuse of a French word to squeeze, because we squeeze the oranges. Need the juice of 3 oranges. So we have absolutely no idea what kind of oranges they used in 1748. Lots of speculation about that. But truthfully, nobody knows what kind of orange was used, what variety. And, 100%, whatever variety was used then probably doesn't exist today. With crossbreeding and trying to increase crop yields and all of that sort of thing, probably doesn't exist today. So, okay, last bit of juicing. And we'll get that into the pot. Next in is sugar and 3 eggs. Now the recipe does tell me to beat the eggs before putting them in. I have the advantage of, 2026 and several hundred years of innovation. I have a really good whisk. So I can whisk this in the pot in a way that they just couldn't in 1748. I'm also supposed to put in, now I have cut the recipe in half. Julie and I don't need that much orange fool hanging around the house, so I cut the recipe in half. So at this point, I'm going to turn on my fire, and we'll get that going. It calls for a pint of cream. Now, 1748, this is before the imperial pint, so we're using a different size pint. I've also cut the recipe in half, so I'm using a half pint. In goes the cream. A little bit of flavoring, so cinnamon and some nutmeg. Okay, out with the whisk. And in with a spatula. I'm supposed to stir this over a low fire until it is thick. So this is a custard. There is a temperature associated with that thick, or what it's calling for it to be thick. In this case, they wouldn't have had a thermometer in their kitchen at all in 1748. So it would all have been done just by looking at it and saying, that's thick enough. There's a test where you get a little bit of the custard on a spoon. A silicone spatula does not do it. But you get it on your spoon, you rub your finger through it, and how it fills in tells you whether it's thick enough. But this needs to be thick enough that we can put it into a glass and serve it as a thicker custard. This has thickened considerably, and I don't know how to describe it, but I can feel it just as I drag the spatula through it, that it takes more resistance to get through. It has thickened considerably. Is it thick enough? I don't know. You know, back of the spoon test. Coats the back of a spoon, drag my finger through. It's pretty good. I'm going to say thick enough. So, turning off the heat. Now it tells me to put in a small piece of butter. It seems small. I'm supposed to stir this in until cold. How cold is cold? Room temperature? Do I have to stir this constantly until it comes down to room temperature? Can I cheat and just dish it up now? Seems like I'd be standing here stirring for an awfully long time, especially since this pot holds heat like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to pour it into this jug, because this jug has a spout and it'll be so much easier to pour into these little ramekins. Also, I want to get an idea of what I'm dealing with. Yeah, almost 3 cups. Almost 3 cups of liquid. I don't know that I've got enough ramekins, but we'll portion it out and see what happens. That tastes really good. So, I'm gonna leave them on the counter till they come to room temperature. I'll stick them in the fridge, let them set completely, and I'll see you back here for a tasting. Okay. Oh, a couple of spoons.
What you doing in the fridge, Glenn? Ooh, hey friends. Hey, Glenn.
An orange fool.
They look very fancy.
So,
Although the title, not so fancy.
No, not so.
How's fool spelled?
So it's spelled like a fool.
Okay.
Like a fool. It's believed that it comes from the French verb fouler, to trample.
Yeah.
To crush,
I was gonna say
trample.
stomp, but yeah.
So, you know,
There's a whole series of them.
Yeah, so the orange fool, that, very simple, orange custard. The Westminster fool is a custard put over top of a penny loaf, so dried bread.
Okay.
And then this one, the gooseberry fool, sounds amazing. Much more...
Gooseberries are just like, because
Yeah.
you'd want to get all the seeds out of the gooseberries and stuff like that. Yeah.
And also, we talked earlier about 1748, no vanilla. The 2 other recipes for fool on this page use what was often substituted, or no, it wasn't even substituted, what was often used before vanilla came around, which was rose water.
Okay.
And I'm so glad I didn't live in 1748, because I could not eat anything with rose water. It's just
It
not.
would be your normal. It would just be what you'd have.
I guess so. But if I got, Bill and Tedded back to 1748, I would not be interested in the rose water. But I give you an orange fool.
All right, I'm going to try yours just
Okay.
to, Looks like it's got a great, it
It's
looks like pudding.
It's a very soft custard. So, when I grew up, my mom would make a baked custard in the oven. She'd bake it in a water bath, and it would be, you put it on your spoon and jiggle it. Like, it'd be almost like Jell-O.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that people ate custard made on a stovetop that was more like a sauce. Mm-hmm. This is halfway in between.
So this is really, it's very lovely and pleasant. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. It's very much a summery, like I can imagine in a summery dish, add some other fresh fruit with it, and it would be,
Well, as the recipe progresses forward in time, the orange fool,
nutmeg. That's the...
Well, and I put in too much cinnamon. I think I put in too much cinnamon because it didn't say how much cinnamon.
I don't think so. I think it tastes great. The nutmeg and cinnamon really kind of round out the flavor.
But as this recipe
nicely.
moves forward, it becomes more like the Westminster fool and the gooseberry fool. It's put over top of a cake with other fruits added and stuff.
It's lovely just like that.
Just like that. So this is one of those recipes from the past that actually stands up today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really quite lovely.
I cut the recipe in half.
That's probably wise. I don't know that we would need to eat more than 5 of them. That's a lot.
Give this a go. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.